guys, thank you so much. We are back now.
Woohoo!
Make sure everything's going good here, and we'll continue on with the stream. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We've talked a lot about a lot of topics tonight. We started off with, if you just joining us now, we talked a lot about the passing of Mr. Brody Lee and how impactful that was, and everything with that. There was a lot of impactful moments that AEW put out throughout the year, and especially through the summertime alone. And I remember, we talked about Jericho just before we went off. I just had this memory when the first time that the fans came back to Daly's Place and they got to sing. And I think that was around the time that Eric Bischoff had just came back to TNT. And I never thought that would happen. I almost fell out of my goddamn chair. I said, "Oh my fuck, it's Eric Bischoff. It's Eric Bischoff." But
I don't. Yeah.
but Jericho, when the fans sang again, and he turned around and he looked up and he nodded and he smiled. That was one of the most real moments I'd seen of the summertime. That was good to see that. It was kind of like, hey, things are going to be okay. And also, thanks for watching the show and thanks for taking the time to still support AEW. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
But one of the bigger impactful moments with WWE was Roman Reigns' return this summer.
Yeah.
It was cool. I loved how they did it. I don't think I could have wrote it better myself. Because when I don't know about you personally, when he came out a couple years ago and he went out to the ring with the Universal title on his shoulder and he said, "Hey, I want y'all to know my name is Joe." And he's talking about talking about where he has cancer, and he's talking about that he doesn't, that's not going to be the end for him. But when the pandemic started and the coronavirus thing, I thought, damn, that's one guy we might not ever see again.
Yeah,
I thought, damn, we might not see Roman again.
Right. Well, I wasn't gonna say that he wasn't ever gonna come back. It was just maybe it was gonna be a longer absence.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was going to be I didn't think it was going to be like a long time, but it was going to be a significant while before we see him again. But him coming back at SummerSlam, you couldn't write it any better. Like you said, you couldn't write it any better for his return. You know what I mean? And it wasn't like this. It wasn't like the normal Roman Reigns we see. It was the heel Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And this is such a different heel too, because we've seen all the heel in before. We saw, the kind of bad boy, kind of, you can believe that. We saw that before. We saw the little heel turn that he had with Cena a little bit. We saw the heel turn with the Shield, a little bit. But this is such a new heel.
It was very tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I think they missed an opportunity there, though. I think that they could have done a little bit more with Roman and The Fiend at that time. But, I think that they just were trying to put Roman back into the spotlight. And he was much needed as well, because he never got that chance to really come into being a champion, being the Universal Champion at all.
Well, I mean...
He never got the opportunity.
No. Roman never did. I mean, after he left in 2018 to, because of his leukemia situation, I don't think he was, I just don't think he was, what am I trying to say? I just don't think he was ever the same,
Yeah.
Because I was ready for that run. And I think, him beating Brock after all this time, because he had very unsuccessful runs with Brock. And for him to finally beat Brock and to be on top of the heap again, I thought it would be a very impactful title run. But I think, he was going to have that moment at WrestleMania, but, COVID happened and everything. But, I don't know. I just think that, now is the best iteration of Roman Reigns there ever has been.
I agree. Yeah.
And I think it's going to last a little while. I think we're on a collision course to. He keeps bringing up family, so I really think we're really on the collision course to Rock versus Roman.
Yeah, eventually
We're
one day
it's
we're getting there. We're building there slowly, I
yeah.
think. But he figuratively and literally has taken the vest off, and he's allowed himself to come into such a better character, and he looks awesome. He looks great.
Amazing.
He's out there. He's honestly kicking ass. The way he speaks to people, the way that he's walking, the inclusion of the tribal and his part of the family, and that he's the head of the table, and that people need to bow to Roman Reigns. I thought this was an awesome way to not only put him in the spotlight that he deserves, but also allow him to be the heel that we know that he can be. Like,
And
you
he
give
has
Roman the
excelled.
opportunity
Yeah.
to take that center stage, and he's taken it right now. And it's so different because it's almost like he needs a new entrance music, because you forget so much of the Roman of the past because you see how good this Roman Reigns is right now.
Give them, I think WWE needs to give them, the freedom to explore outside of their normal characters. You know what I mean? This company has tried so hard to build him as the next Cena, you know? And I think this is the Roman Reigns we need. And it's money.
Yeah.
More people watch SmackDown now because of this iteration of Roman Reigns.
And SmackDown realized that they had to step their game up. I don't know if you've noticed, because I was going to say this earlier, that when WWE moved to the Thunderdome, Jeremy, it was just, a lot of the content was just so unwatchable. It was
It,
so
it,
hard to watch, and even still, Monday Night Raw is still hard to watch.
Well,
You know,
that is a show in itself. To be honest, it's probably going to take two two episodes to actually get to the to the reason of why Raw is so
like we
hard to
said, we could do a
watch.
whole episode on creative, but
Uh,
they had to step up their game at SmackDown because they knew so many more people were going to be watching now that Roman Reigns was around again and in this character.
well, he's the guy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He always was destined to be the top guy, but this tongue in cheek superhero just didn't work.
No.
You necessarily don't have to be a you don't have to be the superhero to be a top moneymaker. You know what I mean? Or to be the face of something. You know what I mean? Uh, he he's. I just think this is what we need. And him and Heyman caught me off guard.
Yeah, that
You
was
know what I
great.
mean?
And the cutaway to the camera, and you said that's not a prediction, that's a spoiler. You can believe that. I loved that. That was really good.
And I said, someone says that, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And the rivalry that Heyman and Reigns had in his early days with Brock,
Mm-hmm.
his early days in the main event scene. And for Heyman to align himself with Heyman, that's some good stuff.
It's
I said
really good
that's the
stuff.
best.
And it also
That
allows, because
uh-huh.
they told Heyman to basically, they don't need him anymore, essentially, but they still keep him around on the TV character, and it allows him to still have that presence of Paul Heyman, because Paul Heyman is, I think, is one of, professional wrestling would not be what it is without Paul Heyman, and to not see
I
him
wouldn't
around
disagree.
would be a disgrace in my opinion. To not let him write or produce right now is a disgrace in my opinion. But
Well, there was a lot of problems backstage
yeah,
from what I could read, a lot of broken promises, a lot of empty promises that were
yeah.
made. So, I mean, he's fine as a manager,
Yeah,
you
what he's
know.
doing, what the point I'm making, what he's doing now is really good.
Yeah,
He's doing good, and it's different from what he's doing with Brock. It's refreshing. It's much needed, I think.
he's not really much of a mouthpiece
Yeah.
for Roman because Roman's holding his promos as his own.
Hmm.
He's just the guy, he's what I call the instigator. He's just pushing the envelope behind the scenes. He's kind of like what Callis calls himself, the invisible hand. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? He's the one who's weaving the behind the scenes for Roman. So you don't see really Paul Heyman in a very up close way like you usually see him with Brock. You kind of see him more in the background. But being in the background is much more dangerous than being up front.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way I look at it. You know, so I think it's really good. I'm very interested to see how this character will roll out through 2021.
I'm interested too, and I'm interested to see how we go into WrestleMania with him, and what we're doing. Because obviously we know that the main event of WrestleMania is going to include him in somehow. If it didn't, it'd be weird if it didn't, of this
Yeah,
year.
yeah. I think you would have if Roman Reigns is not in the main event, and I mean the main event, the last match of WrestleMania, it would be a little weird.
Yeah, it'd be
He is
strange.
he is the guy who is making this money, who's doing the work, who's literally carrying, SmackDown on his back. And that's what I look at.
What he's doing right
Someone
now
who
with him and Jay, what they're doing with Kevin Owens, that it's really good storytelling, and they're letting Kevin be that, like, really be the professional wrestler that we know he can be, because he's out there showcasing hard talent and out there really doing, selling good bumps and taking big hits from Roman,
Yeah.
and doing the same back to Roman, doing crazy stuff to Roman. I like that, they're letting Kevin Owens into the. I was wondering who was going to be the character to step to him, to be like, I'm not going to step away from him. I was trying to see who they're going to do, and I really like that they did that with Kevin. I thought that was really cool because, the big character shift that Kevin Owens had last year didn't really go anywhere, but now it's finally going somewhere.
It is. It's making waves. It's moving. I think this is the best Kevin Owens has been since he came on to the main roster. I think the best he's been since he went to NXT.
Yep.
So I think he's found his footing, and if you ask me, he needs to be a part of WrestleMania, and I think he needs to be in the world title picture.
I believe
Because
so. Yeah.
you can't say that, you know, oh, Kevin Owens is not the guy to do it. Kevin Owens has been busting his butt for the last few months, and with this rivalry with Roman, with the steel cage match on SmackDown, with the TLC match that they had, which was excellent, by the way, you can't tell me that Kevin Owens does not deserve the WrestleMania main event picture. You just can't.
Yeah, he
You
needs it
can't
too.
sell that to me. You know. So.
I think a lot of the times WWE creative doesn't realize that they hurt their talent sometimes, in the aspect that they tell a good story with one guy, but the other guy falls off, and a lot of the times that does happen to Kevin Owens. We've seen him had incredible stories, him and Shane McMahon. That was, a really heartfelt stories with them. The rivalry between him and AJ Styles, the stuff that they did with him and Sami Zayn, all of that.
Yeah.
But now
Yeah.
this finally letting him be the Kevin Owens, like from the indies, and the Kevin Owens that sells out crowds, like you said, like at NXT. But I'm just hoping that that they continue, that this isn't just like we're just doing this because we don't know what to do right now with Roman. I'm hoping that this has some kind of ending that allows Kevin to come into more fruition in the future.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think he's the guy to beat Roman, if you ask me, the way he's being built up. But this is where the plot thickens a bit, Austin, is that the, they're not ready to take the belt off Roman yet.
No,
You know
not
what I
yet.
mean?
Yeah.
They're in that pickle where they want someone else to do it. And that's where WWE, that's where the creative team falls short, is not following through with their stories, and not knowing who is stepping up. I think they're very tone deaf to who's stepping up. You know what I mean? You have this dilemma now where you have Kevin Owens, who's this top baby face in the company. You finally have like you have a Hogan versus Piper type situation. You know what I mean? But you don't want to take the belt off the guy, but you're having a guy who's performing at top level.
Yeah. And that's exactly where they're at right now. So it's interesting to see what happens here in the future. But like you said, though, SmackDown is good, and it's almost as good as when we had fans, but SmackDown's a lot better than Raw by a long shot.
But it's solely because of Roman.
Yeah,
I
solely.
hate to say it, but it's solely because of Roman. Big E, I mean, is making a splash, but not as big as I thought he would.
Yeah.
You know,
I think the appeal, the hype was better than the actual delivery with Big E, I think.
Yeah, I hate to agree with you, but not to say that Big E is not a championship material. You know what I mean? It's just bad execution.
It is, and you think we go back a little bit to the Money in the Bank, and it was an interesting idea at the tower, and they have them climb to the top and all that stuff, but they didn't do anything with it. They ruined Money in the Bank. You had the opportunity, like you could have given Big E the case or something. You could have done something. You had the opportunity to push someone else, and they ruined that. And I'm saying what happened with Becky Lynch. I mean, congratulations to her and her family. But she got pregnant. But and you gave the case to Asuka, and you gave her the championship. We never got to see freaking anything to do with Money in the Bank, because now and then the Miz, it got wasted. So you didn't get to push anyone. You could have given that to somebody, and now you're at this standstill because now we got the Royal Rumble coming up, and like you said, who are we pushing now? Who's going to push to either be the person to take off the belt off of Roman, or are we going to do and have someone do something to take off of Drew? We don't know.
Yeah, it's a very, very difficult. When you look at WWE creative, it's just hard, to follow their mindset. You know what I mean? Whereas with AEW, it's simple, what I mean? It's long-term storytelling. They start somewhere. They may veer off for a second, but they pick up right where it is. The road is still, the destination is still the same.
Yeah, look at
look
at Hardy and Guevara. They got hurt. Matt Hardy got hurt in that match. He hit his head on the concrete floor, and God, that was scary. First of all, that was really terrifying to see that.
Yes.
But, thank God everything was okay with that. And AEW, unfortunately, learned a hard lesson there about safety. But no one better to that to happen to than Matt Hardy, the king of bumps, and Sammy Guevara, too. Guevara can take a fall harder than I've seen in a long time. And he's not even a big guy, But
no,
they fell off the storyline a little bit, but then they came right back to it, and they ended up telling it a good ending to it, Yeah. But WWE's hurting to do that. They're really hurting to do that.
They are, and I think it's solely because Vince McMahon. I think Vince McMahon is just never satisfied.
Well, look at what he's doing. He's digging into, instead of, this is the opportunity that you have a lot of young, fresh talent. In my opinion, you need to give the Royal Rumble to someone brand new or something like that. But what he's doing is he's relying on like old retired people that live here in Florida to come bring ratings instead of trying to tell a good story. Like, most of the world doesn't even know who the fuck Orange Cassidy is. But when you sit down and watch one of his matches, you're really entertained by him and you want to see more of him. I want to see Orange Cassidy hold a world championship one day. You know what I mean? It's sooner better than later. Yeah. And WWE doesn't do that. They focus on who's going to be Cena and who's going to be Punk and who's going to be Orton. And if we don't have those, that aspect, then who, and they did it to themselves again with Becky Lynch, who, look how boring the women's roster has been because of Becky and all the other women that are gone. Bayley did the best that she could do. There's only so many times you can tell the same story with Bayley, though. They put all their effort into Becky. They made her the guy. And now, they shot themselves in the foot now because their best talent, female-wise, is on NXT. And if they take that away, then NXT goes away.
It's a very weird dilemma. That's a consequence to... It's a consequence of having so many live television shows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what it really is. That's the consequence.
And like 16 championship belts.
16 championship belts. You're literally watching, if you put in 3 hours of Monday Night Raw, 2 hours of NXT, 2 hours of of SmackDown, you're talking about 7 hours of live television
Yep.
and having to keep up with all that. And you have 2 world champions, 2 mid-card champions, 2 tag champions, 2 women's champions. It's
It's a
tough.
lot of story. Yeah.
It's over, and I think that's where creative is getting kind of confused at times. You know what I mean? I think they're getting kind of overwhelmed. But I'm not trying to say it's okay, but Vince McMahon needs to simplify his shows.
He
You know what
does.
I
Yeah.
mean?
Raw, in my
Cut.
opinion, especially right now, needs to be 2 hours. That third
I,
hour is so dreadful.
oh, it's rough.
It's
You
dreadful.
know, a month ago, I actually watched a full episode of Monday Night Raw, and my God, I wanted to turn it off after hour 1.
It's hard.
It's
Yeah.
just, it's so difficult. And it still went on and on and on. You can't deliver in a 3-hour show. You just can't.
Mm-hmm.
They've been doing this since 2012. It's been nearly a decade since Monday Night Raw went 3 hours. And and every critic's consensus is that darn 3 hours. You need that third hour cut. 2 hours. 2 hours is fine.
Yeah.
You can get your point across in 2 hours.
And they're doing it fine on SmackDown. They're doing it fine on NXT. AEW is doing a great job. You know.
But to Vince McMahon, it's a juggernaut. It's the flagship. You could be the flagship still and still be 2 hours. You know?
Well, to talk more about NXT, you know, we get Karrion Kross debuts this year, Killer Kross.
Yes.
That was awesome because the build up and to use, and first of all, Scarlett, she's such a smoke show, and to use her in the way that she does, and she's not just a girlfriend, she's not just a part, like she's a part of his character, she's a part of the story. That, like, I like when she goes out to the ring and he's not there, or like when she does shit and freaks at people out on behalf of him. The whole Time's Up thing, the TikTok, it's creepy, it's good, it's strong, and it needs to continue, and it only just like continues to get better every time that Cross is in the ring. It's unfortunate, you know, that because I think they messed up a little bit by rushing him right to the title picture, and then unfortunately getting hurt, you know. But we get to see him now, like the match he just had with Priest at New Year's Evil. We get to see him now really, you know, be that disturbing force that we know that one day he's going to be the one to win the NXT championship again, because of how strong his character is. He's so, it's terrifying. The only critique I have of it is that I don't want him to play too much into the goth thing like Aleister Black did, because we don't need that, you know. NXT is punk rock enough as it is. We don't need too much of it, you know.
Yeah, that's going to have to, you know, he lost 6 months of his career. That's pretty sad, you know,
it's
due to that injury. Because he was going to probably have the most bang up title run. You know, I think his title run will be the most dominant. But
it sucked too because Keith Lee got the double championship, and then he gave up the North American championship, you know, to get the opportunity for other people, and just for him to lose the NXT championship right after that, and then Cross freaking gets injured and has to give up the belt. It's like it was just like the curse happened right after. It was just like unfortunate timing and on that whole thing.
My heart broke for the guy because I think, you know, like I said, he was going to have probably after NXT TakeOver 30, he was going to have probably the most, you know, the biggest run of his career. And, but I think of it, you know, to go back, I think, you know, Karrion Kross and Scarlett, they remind me so much of Undertaker and Paul Bearer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? In the sense of that chemistry, you know what I mean? Something you very rarely find in wrestling is a true connection between wrestler and manager. And those two just gel so well together.
She does so well too on her own. She's terrifying.
Oh, she is. And I love that.
Yeah.
You know, I love that. But yeah, it's unfortunate what happened to him, but I think he's building his way back to
I think he'll be the one to pull the Demon King out again. I think we'll see Demon King versus Cross again. I think that'd be interesting.
I miss the Demon King. I really do. I really do.
Yeah.
But if we can segue into Finn Balor's title reign,
Yeah.
you
Of
know,
course.
that Finn Balor's title reign has been very good so far.
And thank
You
God,
know,
the injury that he sustained at the beginning wasn't anything. Because as soon as they said, "Oh, Finn's injured again," and I was like, "Fuck, not again! Are
I
you
said, "Oh
serious?"
God, you and I were in the same boat," because I said a broken jaw. I said, "Oh my God, a broken jaw takes a while to fix."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To heal on its own.
But
But
what a fucking match between him and Kyle. They tore
classics.
the house down.
You know, and it's been a long time since we've seen a Finn Balor like that. You know what I mean? A
Mm-hmm.
dangerous Finn Balor, kind of reminiscent of New Japan back when he was Prince Devitt. Just very visceral. You know, having those rough matches again.
Yeah.
It's good. I love it. I love the Prince. I love him going back to those roots. The Prince. And his title reign, and I feel so bad because, you know, talk about someone who had bad luck with title reigns. The first ever Universal Champion was only a champion for one day.
Yeah, like
You know what I
fucking
mean?
four
Because of
hours.
injury.
Yeah.
And he never was the same after
Yeah.
that injury. Never.
And he never got
He
that
never
moment
got back.
and he never got the star moment. You could see it on his face. He was missing that. And I think him coming back to NXT was almost like a rehab for him because now it got him back, like you said, into that character, back to his roots. And he's doing well, personally too. He's married finally, and he wanted to do that. He took that time off that he wanted to do. Um,
Yeah, because he went 19 years without really taking time
yeah,
off.
yeah, the whole time, yeah.
You know.
But
So from the moment he broke into the business to at least to that night of SummerSlam 2019, he was, you know, he went nonstop.
yeah, and this is a different Finn Balor that we're seeing this time around too, because the first time NXT Finn
Dangerous.
Balor, we got to see the spectacle of Balor, and then you saw the
Yeah.
Demon King, and then you saw, him go to the Universal title picture and all that. But now we see him, like you said, that dangerous, that Prince. It's different this time around. It's fresh, and it allows for better storytelling among the other members because NXT was getting stagnant for a while. It was getting a little boring for a second because there's only so many times you can do Ciampa and Cole. There's only times you can do Gargano versus Ciampa. There's like it was just
Yeah.
Priest versus Dijakovic. There's only so many times you can do that. And it was getting to the point like, all right, and we need some different storytelling here. So it was almost a little bit of blessing in disguise him coming back to NXT.
A big blessing in disguise. He can work a better schedule. You know, his schedule is a little more limited now. You know, and it's good. You know, I just can't be any happier for the guy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And I'm excited to see because we know that what the story's coming with him and Cross. I think that's definitely where they're going with that.
I think by the Valentine's Day takeover, I think that's what's going to hit the collision course. I think that's where they're going to go. Or Pete Dunne has really put his hat in.
Yeah.
His hat into wanting the NXT Championship. I never saw. I've never saw Pete Dunne and Finn Balor before, so I think that would be a good match in itself.
That'd be a good story too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, talking about Pete Dunne, thank the fucking Lord for Pat McAfee. Who knew that we needed Pat McAfee? You know what I mean?
Gods.
And this dude, football star, and I usually hate when someone makes the crossover like that. But there's no one better to do that. McAfee is a fucking heel on his oim, and he didn't even know it. The Pat McAfee show is him being a heel about football. Him bringing that directly into WWE, into NXT. He was the best promo, the best skills I've seen on the mic. Like MJF up there, one of the best skills on the mic. Taker, freaking Triple H. Pat McAfee up there with fucking amazing skills on the mic. That dude can speak. He's so good. He works an empty room.
Exactly. And this is a guy that doesn't have that much wrestling training.
No, none. And this dude went out there and put on a fucking show against Adam Cole. Holy shit. Because the build up was good. The whole him making fun of the symbols that they do, him talking about it in real life at the bars, getting caught by TMZ, him doing it, you know, on his own show, making fun of it with like other football players. I thought that was genius, and then it just showed like a little bit like, damn, maybe McAfee and Adam have a little bit of an issue here. But I was going into that takeover, I don't know about you, Jeremy, thinking that, oh, here we go, we got another celebrity match. I might have to just sleep through this. And then you got McAfee doing fucking superplexes like Cowboy Bob Orton off the top rope.
Yes, I
couldn't believe
I really can't. That's why I'm a little speechless, is because that's exactly what I was speechless.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're having it. I thought his, his mic skills were great. You know what I mean? And I said, well, that's all it's going to be. And we're going to kind of have like a little underwhelming match. The guy's moving like he's been in the ring 10 years. You know what I mean? That goes to show he's a fish to water.
Yeah.
You know? And he's
naturally
one of those
good
rarities.
Yeah.
He's natural. But I think the reason you're not seeing him, I think there's some jealousy. If you don't mind, if I can put in a conspiracy theory,
I think there might be
there's some jealousy, because there are stars that can't get to Pat McAfee's level. It's taking them so long. I think
he's so natural on the microphone, and so many people are not.
Exactly.
And they're jealous of that, you know.
I think what today's new wrestlers are missing is that promo skills. Your promo skills will sell you much more as a character than your in-ring skills sometimes. You know what I mean? You can be quasi okay in the wrestling ring, but if you don't have that promo, you're not going to sell tickets. And but get you a guy that does both. That's Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee should be superstar of the year if you don't, you know.
And look what, and he's building up. He builds up other people too. The I forget the names of the two tag team, the NXT champions.
Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch.
He's built them up. He's changed Pete Dunne's character completely.
Yeah.
And he's finally, Pete Dunne is becoming a great character, something that he desperately needed. And Pat assisted with that. And Pat went out there to WarGames, went out there and played WarGames with the big boys. And like you think, I think there is some jealousy. Because
he did that flip.
Yeah.
Off of the WarGames cage. And did it to perfection.
Like he was Rey Mysterio or something.
My God.
It was crazy. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I really could not believe what I was seeing. I was so impressed by it. And I was at an NXT at the Wrestling Center recently. It might have been the Veterans Day one. I'm not sure. But they had a brawl afterwards with the Undisputed Era right before WarGames. And Adam Cole, he threw McAfee really, really, really hard into the hockey glass. Like it shifted the pod a little bit, like came off of it. I was like, damn, he threw his ass hard. It was like, damn, welcome to the business, kid. Like, I was surprised how hard he threw him into the glass, but McAfee took it like it was nothing. Like, you could tell he's like, fuck, this dude really hurt me. But he stood back up and took a super kick to the mouth. And then, he knows how to sell. But like you said, he's doing things that people have taken years and training and paid thousands of dollars to try to do. And this dude was just a dude that was a fucking punter. And not even that good at it.
Good. But you know what? That's where his talents lie, is professional wrestling. And I think, like I said, many people I think in NXT are very jealous right now, because Pat came in. How long was Pat in before TakeOver 30? Not even a couple months.
No, yeah.
But he's giving 5-star matches, and he hasn't even studied professional wrestling that long. You know what I mean? He's doing in 6 months what it takes people 5 to 10 years to do.
He's got no fear.
You know what I mean?
He's like, jump off the cage into a crowd of 6 dudes? Yeah, why not?
He gets the business.
Yeah.
And I guess, when that light bulb went off, he took what he had and he ran with it.
I just hope that whatever's going on right now backstage that they resolve, because especially he is one of the best things on that show. He really was, and it's kind of sad to say that, because like you said, he's just such an outsider, but he was so goddamn good. He was such a draw. It was like
he is a draw.
It's like there was a parking lot full of really nice Corvettes, but there was just one Ferrari right in the middle, and that's Pat McAfee.
Oh, you got that right. You got that right. You can talk hours about Pat McAfee of how good he is. You know what I mean? And I just want to see him again. He was the best thing about NXT for the last several months.
Yeah.
Oops. Did I say that aloud?
Yeah. But we got WarGames 3. It was pretty good. We just had New Year's Evil. Not bad. Kyle O'Reilly, Finn Balor 2. Not bad. They told continue the story that Balor got a little bit of a payback for that misplaced knee. That they're talking about what a receipt was. They were bringing what a receipt is into real life. I don't know. Did you see in the documentary between Undertaker and Orton when they were talking about the early rivalry, and the receipt? They were talking about receipts there too. And when Orton hit Taker over the head on accident too hard and split him open, and Taker whispered in his ear and told him, "I'm going to get you back for that." And he hit him back hard like 9 months later, but he hit him back Orton said he could have hit me back a lot harder. And it was the same situation here with Kyle and Finn, that Kyle ran up and hit him in the face with a Muay Thai knee, like it was UFC, and Kyle made and Finn made that an apparent point that he wasn't very happy that happened.
I just love wrestling. I mean,
I love it too.
Don't know. You just don't know of those little stories until it's told.
Until it could happen, you don't know.
Yeah. It's like, you're not supposed to do that. I mean, Undertaker delivered many receipts to people, and he gave them receipts with interest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that Muay Thai kick was that was a receipt with interest, is what I call them. So I mean, but that there's something about Kyle O'Reilly, man. He's a tough son of a gun, man.
He's a star. He's a star on his own, and every one of the members of the Undisputed Era are individually a star, and together they're great, and every one of them deserve the spotlight at some point. And it's good, that we're moving past Adam Cole, but Adam Cole's still in the background because he's still that main draw. Adam Cole still hasn't even fully got to the potential. He still needs to freaking main event SmackDown with people actually at the arena. That still needs to happen. You know what I mean? So right now, NXT is as good as it's going to get, I think.
I think for now, I mean, until we get McAfee back, till we get, I think right now NXT goes through those little weird phases. And I think they're going through a weird phase right now. So,
we'll see the first ever. I don't know. It was a little confusing. They called it the Women's Dusty Cup as well, but we have the Women's Dusty Rhodes Cup now coming up. So we'll see. We'll have that. A lot of building the tag team division back up in NXT. So maybe the tag team belts will go over there for a little bit. Who knows? I think that'll be probably a good story. But I think that'd be interesting. We haven't done that yet, with the women's belts yet.
Yeah, I mean, with the women's tag titles, I think, that's going to be the prize. I mean, my God, the winning team gets to face Charlotte Flair and Asuka.
Yeah,
I mean, that's big enough as it is. You know what I mean? You're talking about two of the most dominant women in the women's division today.
I'm so done, though, with Charlotte Flair, bro. I'm so over it. I hate her so much. I've never liked her. I'm so over it. Like
Well, I
I'm so
mean,
tired of Charlotte Flair. Like I just don't want to see it anymore.
mm, yeah, I mean, I can understand, but
It's
you
just
can't,
annoying.
and I'm gonna say this, you can't really deny that she has talent.
Yeah.
She makes people look good. I mean, she made Rhea Ripley look good at WrestleMania. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So you kind of have to give that to her. She performs at a different level. And I know people are tired of seeing her, but you can't deny that she is probably one of the best wrestlers,
Well,
male or female,
she
on
is, but
that,
they need to do
you know.
something else than just every 6 months give her a title. You know,
Right.
let her do something
I
else. Let her do come into some other kind of character.
I think, it was a little bit overkill that they gave her the Royal Rumble in
Uh huh.
2020. I think it was a little like, why? You know what I mean? You've already won those championships 100 times over. You know what I mean? So what's the purpose of Charlotte Flair being the Royal Rumble winner? What, to put another notch under her belt? You
Yeah.
know?
Honestly, I think that's
And
really
I
what it was.
and it is. Normally in today's world of wrestling, yes it is. People are winning because it puts notches under the belt. It puts more titles. It doesn't progress them any further, you know?
No. It's just so later down the line, Michael Cole can eventually say, "Hey, they were this person and they did this," you know. But
Hmm.
the
Can't do
last
anything
the last big thing I
about
wanted
that.
to talk about that happened in 2020, that we'll close off the night with, and like you said, we still
Sure.
have so many. We'll have so many other episodes to plan out that we can do. Talk about the Fiend. I want to
Yeah.
do a whole one on the Fiend, all that good stuff. We can do
Yeah.
a whole NXT one, but yeah, you guys look forward to more episodes. I hope you guys like what we were doing here tonight. But me and Jeremy have been talking about doing this for a long time, um, so I'm finally glad we got to do it. But the last big moment that I saw, Sting, man, ladies and gentlemen, this is Sting returning to AEW. I didn't see that one coming at all.
To be honest, I wasn't really, like, jumping out of my seat. And I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer about Sting, but I know his motives
Yeah,
as to why he's going to AEW. So it's kind of like, whatever, I know what you're doing. He didn't have a great run in WWE, and he's just trying to have that send off. You know what I mean? I think that's where he's going. But it's good to see his career come full circle, though. From starting in TNT, the network TNT, to ending it in TNT, that's pretty cool.
yeah,
You know what
it's
I
a full
mean?
circle, and I think that's what he wanted to do. I felt like he wanted to come home because he really WCW was really his home. He really was Sting.
Yeah.
You got to see him change and grow up and do different things. And when he
Mm-hmm.
went from the California Ventura, the yelling the Yahoo, and then all the way to
Yeah.
painting his face and with the stinger and the scorpion and all that, you got to
Yeah.
see all that transition through WCW, and I think that's why like this is TNT's Undertaker. This is TNT's, their biggest thing. The next biggest thing I can imagine is as if Hulk Hogan walked into AEW, or if
Yeah, it's
any of
their
the
Hogan.
NWO.
Yeah.
It's that thing. It's their thing that they can show off, and that is a lot.
I
And
mean,
but Sting's gonna tell a good story with Darby Allin. He's gonna put over a lot
yeah.
of people, anyone that he's gonna get in the ring with. And a little, and I thought we were gonna get out there and see a little bit more of the hardcore Sting, but he's still, he's joking around with Tony Schiavone and stuff, so there's still a little bit of that playful character of Sting still in there. So who knows what
You
they're gonna
know,
do here on out with Sting? But he's pretty old, I think, at this point. Because he
well, he
was,
is in his 60s. I think he is
yeah,
in his 60s.
because he was older when we
Um,
were kids, when we were watching WCW in the early, he was older then.
he was pretty young in those. I mean, I watched Sting a lot in TNA
Yeah,
when he
TNA,
was in
yeah.
TNA, and but I liked my favorite iteration of Sting is TNA Sting, because I loved his theme song in TNA. I thought he was. I really loved his theme song. I hate that they make him now this. His theme songs like that. That dun dun. I don't like it. I just think that he's far beyond that part now. You can get into rock and roll with Sting, but I mean, it's interesting the dynamic between Darby Allin and Sting. You know, their paths have been crossing, so it's a little interesting what's happening with them right now.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, do you think if I want to ask your opinion, do you think, Sting will be the manager for Darby Allin?
I it could be possible. Yeah, I don't. It's weird. It's hard to say because you have the mute character for Darby Allin, the mysterious like lone wolf thing. You don't know. He could take on him under the wing. There could be like a faction, something, or it could be him and Sting go at it. I don't know. We're just not sure.
Well, I think Cody Rhodes is on his way to a heel turn eventually.
Yeah.
I think Cody Rhodes and Sting are up for a collision course. Sting was Cody Rhodes' favorite wrestler
Yep.
growing up, so they have to collide somehow.
Yeah.
You know,
But I think what
it's
AEW
hard
is
to
doing,
predict.
and that's almost a good thing sometimes with a lot of the stories. AEW keeps you on your toes sometimes, and
Yeah.
and they have a lot of potential, and they understand their history, and they understand where they came from, and they understand, that it's unfortunate that Vince McMahon and WWE holds on to so much of WCW's history because it's not Vince's history. It's TNT's history.
Well, he used it for the library.
Yeah.
He the only real reason he purchased WCW, and probably the only big reason, is not because of the wrestlers that he could have. It was because of the video archives that are there. And look at it now; it's plastered all over the WWE network.
Yeah.
So
And it's
he's
unfortunate when AEW fans when they learn about WCW stuff, the only place to see it is on WWE's network. It just doesn't make any sense sometimes.
doesn't, but it's been, if you really look at it, it's been that way for 20 years now. You know what I mean? They've always had the video archives. I know Cody over the past couple of years trying to get little by little,
Yeah.
at least what his dad created back, but
Well, at least he got his fucking name back.
Oh, how can you take someone's name? See, that's what
And it's your
makes me pissed
father's.
about the
That's
company.
another thing is they're holding on to his father's history over their head. They're literally showcasing a tournament in your father's name in another promotion. I just think that's such bullshit at this point. Like, just let it go. Let them explore that. Let them have that history.
I wouldn't disagree with you, but NXT wouldn't be possible without Dusty,
Yeah.
really. So I guess that's what they're holding on to. Unfortunately, when Dusty passed, you look at stars like Sasha Banks and all of them who sat under the oak of Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think Dusty Rhodes isn't limited to one company. Dusty Rhodes
Should be everything.
is
Yeah.
omniscient. He's a very omniscient name. He's everywhere. His fingerprints are everywhere in wrestling. You don't have to have one company have Dusty. I don't care. Dusty Rhodes contributed a lot to the business, and today's iteration of the business too. So, we can't just say he belongs in AEW. He can be anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They need to just release the hold on everything.
Oh, right.
They need to release the hold on everything and let them explore the options.
WWE, what makes them, and I hope that when Vince McMahon goes away one of these days, either he dies or whatever happens, and I don't wish death on him, but that the WWE starts opening up their borders to people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Stop being this corporate entity where your flag has to be the only flag that waves. Accept the fact that you have other companies, but you're willing to work with them. You're for in today's world, it's for the greater good of the wrestling fan.
Yeah.
And if you open up those borders, I can guarantee you business will be better for them on all cylinders.
Every step of the way. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I think we can talk about this in further episodes. Get rid of television writers, and start putting wrestlers in control of the creative, or at least helping with the creative. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, man,
And cut.
it's been a good night.
Oh,
It's been a good chat.
yeah.
Everything we've talked about tonight, went through a lot of topics. I enjoyed going through the year in review with you. A lot of crazy shit happened in 2020. It's just been a strange
Ah,
time for professional wrestling, but it's still one thing we can say about this pandemic. It's still on. It never stopped. And that when soccer stopped, when football stopped, when baseball
yeah.
stopped, when hockey stopped, body slams did not. If for whatever
No.
reason it did not, but they, at least it's still there and we still have something to talk about. So,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I definitely look forward to doing this again with you in the past. And anything you want to say to anybody before we sign off for the night?
I had a lot of fun. I hope you all had a lot of fun, and let's do it again.
Hell yeah.
Anytime, any place. All right, guys.
All right, guys. My name is AJ East Coast, and I have been your host. And we'll see you again next time.
See you guys.